Good morning, good afternoon, good evening. Welcome to another episode of In the Clouds. Today I am joined by two fellow Red Hatters, Angela Andrews and Emily Brand, and we're going to be talking about Summit. Red Hat Summit is upon us next week. The part two of it, I guess, is what we're calling it. But Angela, Emily, Angela first, please introduce yourselves for the audience and tell them a little bit about what you're doing for Summit and what you do here at Red Hat.
I would love to. My name is Angela Andrews, and I am a solution architect here at Red Hat. I've been here a year as of May the 4th. Yes, May the 4th be with you. I am one of the co-hosts for Summit. So we are interlaced throughout the experience, the virtual experience, with talks and information and interviews and things like that. So we bring a new, nice perspective to a virtual experience.
Awesome. So my name is Emily Brand, and I'm a chief architect here at Red Hat. I currently live in New York City, and I've been at Red Hat over a decade now, which sounds such a long time.
Yeah.
And as Angela said, I am the co-host for Summit, and man, last month's part one was so much fun, and we're very excited for part two next week.
Oh yeah.
So yeah, that kind of let's touch on part one for just a quick second, right? Like part one was very, kind of leadership driven, I feel like. And, there was some good parts. There were some great demos. Like, what were your favorite parts of part one of Red Hat Summit?
I'll let Emily go first.
Okay, I was going to let you. Angela got some fun things, so I'm excited to hear what her favorite is. But for mine, I gotta say it was probably Matt Hicks' keynote, and mostly because of one particular announcement that I totally geeked out on, and at first I thought it was a joke, which is OpenShift in space. OpenShift in the International Space Station. That was by far my favorite announcement, just because how cool is that? We worked with NASA to get OpenShift in space.
On top of all the other cool things we do.
yeah, right?
Now there's this little Red Hat thing floating above us.
Yeah, totally. And like the whole purpose of it is really just to get machine learning closer to the edge, closer to the International Space Station, so that then they can actually do DNA sequencing within minutes instead of months, because before we put OpenShift in space, they would have to transmit all the data back to NASA, process it all, and then send it back up to the ISS. And then they have bigger plans with rovers and things like that as well. So that by far was my favorite thing at Summit.
And if you're not familiar with the ISS, connectivity is not like it is here at home. Yes, they have internet access, but it's not like, gigabit speed or anything close to that.
Is it more like dial-up?
Closer to dial-up in a lot of instances, right? Like, I know from my experience that it's like in the tens of megabits, I think, of total upload, but that's like they have, various modules that are doing all kinds of other stuff that have all these other sensors that send telemetry. So it's a very saturated pipe, I feel like. It would be quite slow to have a DNA sequence transmitted down to the ground, sequenced, and then the output sent back up, and with data provenance and all that fun stuff, all those problems that you have to solve, right? Like that's an enormous amount of effort. We just kind of shortcutted it feels like with putting it on the ISS itself.
Isn't that what Edge does though? Like,
right.
This is so awesome. So she I knew she was going to say that, and I wanted her to talk about that, because that is by far the coolest thing that I heard at Summit as well. Mm-hmm. Now, there were other cool things that I thought, anything with Burst Sutter and Rich Jericho are like clutch.
Yes.
You can't go wrong with that. And I was serenaded by Ben Folds. So top that. I don't know, anything cooler.
Yeah.
That's, NASA Space Station, cool. Serenaded by Ben Folds, maybe second. Like that's
okay.
Kind of cool. Yeah, those were really big ones that that I liked and I took away from Summit. So
Yeah,
Nice.
totally. Yeah, mentioning the Burr Sutter demo, the Try Kafka managed service that's free for 48 hours. I think it's like red.ht/try Kafka
Just drop the link in
was
chat for everybody.
Oh, thank you. Yeah, it was a really cool update in terms of just being able to get anyone to play with AMQ streams, which is essentially Kafka and Strimzy. And so you can just do a quick start and see how it all works. And the instance lasts about 48 hours, but I believe you can extend it as well. And so I think that's very cool. And they also did a really fun workshop right after Summit that was recorded as well. I believe I have the link, so Chris, I'll ping it to you.
Okay, thank you.
Mm-hmm.
Yeah, the Burr Sutter demo, quite funny. But having Kafka out there for folks to consume and just try out, I think is game changing, because I remember working in organizations years ago, right? We should get Kafka in here. We should get it spun up. We should do all the things we do so that it's just a message queue and we just process through. That didn't come to reality when I was working there, but it did sometime thereafter. And it took an enormous amount of work for that team to get through all their wickets and everything else, to get monitoring set up, to get all the infrastructure in place. And now it's just service. Spin it up, use it as you see fit, and off you go. I think that's pretty powerful stuff, right? Like, there's a lot going on and a lot you can do with Kafka just right out of the box that not a lot of folks, are able to, because it is, somewhat difficult to manage the various components and keep things up and running sometimes.
Yeah, totally. Yeah, the other thing that I just found out about the Burr Sutter demo as well is that you can now just play it on your own at arcade.redhat.com. I think it might be arcade. Okay. And that is really cool because you can also download the code and run it on your own OpenShift cluster. And there's like 5 or 6 open source games on that you can play, or you can run on your own clusters as well.
Oh, well, I know what I'm doing with my cluster this weekend. Next weekend. I'm going on vacation next week, but that's neither here nor there. Yeah, so arcade.redhat.com, folks, I just dropped that in chat. Apparently you can run any of these on your cluster, and that is very cool. And if you're familiar with DevNation, the show, you know that Sebastian Blanc does some of his own like on cluster gaming for his show. So yeah, check it out. Kick the tires on it. Nothing but fun going on there. So that transition to kind of manage cloud services, we see that happening, almost everywhere with the hyperscalers, right? Like, folks are like, do we run it ourselves? Do we build it ourselves? Or do we hand it off to a provider to do it? Adding ourselves to that list, I think, is great, because instead of having to involve another third party, you just involve Red Hat again. And you have one, kind of point of contact for all your needs, as opposed to, having to bounce off this vendor and that vendor and this vendor just to figure out holistically what the problem is. Let's move on to part 2, right? Let's focus on part 2, because that's what's coming up. What makes this different? Why should folks tune in? What's going on in part 2? Talk to me about that.
Well, this, like you mentioned, the part 1 was more keynote, more executive, more high level, right? And the draw of Summit, as a Red Hat customer, as a Red Hat prospect, as a vendor, is the technical part. Like, this is the juicy business that people come to Summit for, so they want the talks, they want to ask the experts, they want the booth time, they want to network. So one of the cool things with Summit 2 is the ability to network with other attendees. So there's this tool called the Brain Date Networking tool, where you can actually, attendees can tap into the experience and, with that, you could book one-on-one convos with other attendees or small group conversations, whenever, around a topic or things like that. So that is going to be game changing, because I think some of us who are really used to those
hallway tracks,
yes, like that's why we go to conferences, and these virtual experiences, we're really lacking that. And I am really happy to see that Red Hat is trying to do something about that, because we like to talk to one another, post talk, what, did you see that? Like, let's talk about it. I think this will be game changer. And I really do hope that the attendees can take advantage of it and get some of that good feeling back in a conference.
Right. I think one of the most important things I've ever taken away from conference going, right? Like, as in olden times, a lot of my job focused on either A, speaking at conference, or B, helping put together conferences and content for them. The networking piece is almost completely missing, right? Like, I think at KubeCon a couple months ago, they did a pretty good job of like saying there was a hallway track. We could have improved that experience, but we did what we could with what we had at the time. But now that we're actually dedicating, like, and we have a tool for this, we have a space for this, a place for you all to come and actually, hey, I have this problem. Oh, I have that problem too. And you've now met a new friend to help you, and you kind of your joint venture together using some of this open tooling that we have. That networking is very important, right? Like,
it is.
That's how I make friends in Red Hat and outside of Red Hat, right? So having that component, I think, is very great. It is great. There's how many channels, tracks, whatever we're calling them? What are we calling them? There's tracks, channels. I forget.
Emily? Tracks, and I think there's 7 of them.
Yes.
Yeah.
So 7 tracks.
Yeah,
right? And so there's something for everybody, right?
Yeah, exactly. And the focus this week, so for people who love keynotes, as Angela said, the last one was really focused on that, with one day of Ask the Expert sessions, which I did a couple of those that were really fun, and they are live, which is I did women's leadership in open source and digital transformation, and we have so many more on. And what's really cool is that we're doing it in each time zone, so that or each major time zone, so that our customers can actually see these Ask the Expert sessions live and ask questions live. And I believe a lot of the sessions themselves are also live. So it really gives it that more of that conference feel, and less of, oh, I can just watch this in my own time. Like, we do have them up for a whole year, but if you want that interactive experience, that's really what next week is focused on.
Yeah, and I'm pulling up the schedule here, and there's 134 sessions,
tons,
just for June alone, right? Like, there's also an OpenShift Commons gathering, I think, happening as well next week.
Yes.
So there's another 8 sessions there. So in total, the on-demand June sessions, the April sessions, 281 sessions in total.
For a virtual?
That's a lot for any conference, let alone a virtual one, right? So great job on, taking the capabilities that doing something virtually can give you and fulfilling them, right? Like, there's 281 episodes, right? Like, this channel's been up for a little over a year, and we have 500 episodes to give you some context, folks. This is 2 events so far, and they've got 281 sessions. That's enormous, an amazing achievement.
Yeah, I think that's something that I think there'll be something for everybody. So with that vast number, you're going to be able to bring content that people want to see and want to hear. We're going to be able to reach a lot more people. 1, it's virtually, and 2, with the number of sessions that we're doing, hopefully everybody has something that they can take away from here.
I think the breakouts, the live Ask an Experts are going to be big, but can we talk about the live Ask the Experts a little bit? Have we nailed down like which experts are coming on when, or can I divulge any of that to the audience? Or
Yeah, I believe all of the Ask the Experts are live on the Red Hat Summit website. Okay, so cool. You are welcome to divulge.
All right, so I'm pulling up, I'm checking the box. The box isn't checking. Oh, thanks, Chrome. That's so handy. There we go. Live Ask the Experts. We got AIML. Supply chain security. That's not a big deal right now at all.
Yeah, I'm guessing that's Lucy Kerner.
This one, Andreas Spanner, Mark Hildebrand, Adam Gossens. Yeah.
Nice. Yeah, the Asia Pacific team.
Yes.
That one will be a fun one. I definitely recommend people to join.
Right. And there's so many Ask an Expert session, right? Like, you know, this channel, we try to give you a unique and experience with experts. Summit has taken that and cranked it up to 11 and just really said, like, here's specific topics we're going to talk about. Jump in, ask your questions, get your feedback, and get your, you know, your own AIML workloads going, or start securing your supply chain in more effective ways. And the list just goes on and on. There's so many of these. I think
yeah, and another benefit, what I heard some of my customers doing for the last Ask the Expert sessions was actually attending some of the other geos Ask the Experts, because of the fact that we have multiple running at the same time. If you want to see one that's running concurrently, then you can actually just join another geos and still get that live interaction and ask the hard questions.
Yeah, like, that's why they're there. Ask the hard questions of them.
Yep.
Right? Like, if you've got problems, we want to know, because your feedback will get baked back into the product if it's, you know, a significant enough issue. Or, you know, we have what we call requests for engineering. They've been known to be filed from this show, or not from this show, but from this channel before. But, you know, from these live Ask the Expert sessions, if you have a unique use case that should work but isn't, come ask, right? Like, that is definitely something you should do, and use the access that we're giving to kind of enhance your experience with, you know, the entire Red Hat product portfolio.
Yeah, and one thing that some of these sessions are doing as well, especially the more technical sessions. So if you attend some of the AMQ streams or some of the OpenShift sessions, things like that, then they actually have special workshops for people that attend. So you get essentially pre-access to the public links. So definitely recommend watching any of the demos live or any of the technical talks live, because they do have little goodies throughout.
Ooh, now that I didn't know. So that's actually a bonus. So if you're watching now, and if you haven't registered for Red Hat Summit, please go ahead and do it. You can register now, you can register the day of, and make sure you get into these sessions. And like she said, if they're having these little goodies at the end of it, that's something that you don't want to miss. And, you know, if you watch it on demand, you won't be able to consume something like that. So definitely, if you haven't registered, make sure you do. redhat.com/summit. And definitely, we're looking forward to getting, you know, I think this is going to be much bigger, because I think this is what folks have been waiting for, the technical part, the stuff that we've, you know, most of us, you know, us our contributors and, you know, the doers, this is the stuff that we've been waiting for. So make sure you sign up if you haven't.
And there was one thing I forgot to mention that was announced as beta at Summit Part 1, and that was OpenShift Data Science, which I find fascinating. You know, you talked about OpenShift on the ISS, right? Like, that's part of that is data science, and having those capabilities kind of baked into your platform are going to give you enormous advantages. It's an add-on to OpenShift Dedicated and Red Hat OpenShift service on AWS ROSA. So, you know, general availability for it will be later next year, but we are going to have more data science type things available this session as a result, right? So it's, like I said, it's in beta. feel free to check it out. Just Google Red Hat OpenShift Data Science. I'll pull up their page and grab the URL for you. But that, I think, is another kind of significant step in Red Hat's journey towards the future, if that makes sense, right? Like doing data science within OpenShift it has been a thing, and now making it productized or baking it in a way that's, consumable from the cluster with ease, just kind of put it on your cluster or consume it as a service. That's a big deal, right? Like you don't have to cobble and glue together pieces, right? Like we've had this thought out process that you can spin up.
Yeah, totally. So many of our customers have been asking for us to productize Open Data Hub since we came out with it with Mass Cloud. What was that, 4 or 5 years ago? It feels like it was a long time.
Was it that long ago? Wow. Gosh.
Yeah, I think so. And yeah, it's been such a focus, and man, has it been a team effort to actually be able to start to productize it, because it does include a lot of different open source technologies, some of which we're not the leader in the in that particular community, and so that takes a lot more engagement and things like that. So I'm very, very proud of that team for getting that off the ground, and I cannot wait to start seeing it out in the wild as beta and GA.
Yeah, the GA later this year, I'm sure we'll do a special show around that, just because, right? So keep your eyes peeled to our calendar here, folks. What other things in part 2 are you excited about?
Yeah. So there's quite a few. I'm going to mention OpenShift Commons. So, I consider that the pregame, right? That is literally, the day before Summit. So you may forget because it's not Summit basically, but it's the day before. And it's a couple of hours with just a lot of great OpenShift content. You're going to hear from a lot of amazing Red Hatters and customers and bars and stuff. And I think make sure you put the 14th on your calendar. I think a lot of us may forget because it is the day before, but definitely check out OpenShift Commons. And what they billing this as, and I'm switching gears here, is I had the opportunity to interview a couple of folks at Summit 1 and Summit 2. We're bringing in Amir Questlove from the legendary Roots crew. And you would say, isn't that amazing, right?
Right.
And you would think, well, why not? Well, some people call it a palate cleanser. Like sometimes it's just something a little bit different to get people interested in. He's actually producing a film, and it is about music called The Summer of Soul. So there was this event back in the 60s, where all of these Black artists, had this, concert that lasted, a couple of days, or maybe over a couple of weeks. But they were likening it to like the Black Woodstock, where it was huge. When you look back on, you have to watch the movie to see some of the names, like the big names that we know now. This was it was hidden. Like, who knew about this? So I'm really glad. I think he's probably one of the best people to bring this to the stage, because he is such a music history buff. And again, this will hit home with a lot of us who, we have multiple skills, and we should always be able to entertain those multiple skills. We're probably subject matter experts in something, but there's always these other things. These are these things that allow us to stretch and grow. So for all the technologists that are out there, we are multifaceted. We can do multiple things. And I think his talk really does hit a chord with that. So make sure you check it out on the
Absolutely.
I'm not sure when it is, but yeah, make sure you check that one out on the 15th.
I feel like, there is a search function here on the wonderful events.
You think I would know, but
you've got a lot going on.
Just a little bit.
Let's not, hold it against you here. You got a lot going on. And if you didn't notice, folks, and I've got the link to the session right here. Let me drop that in chat. I think that should work.
And one thing to note as well for anyone who didn't attend part one, Angela is an amazing interviewer of these entertainers. Big fan. I know I could not do it that well.
Thank you.
Definitely check it out.
Thank you. It was fun. I mean, I don't know how people do it all the time. But a lot goes into it. Like, Chris, you talk to people constantly. Like, are you ready for a nap after every one of these shows? Like, how does that work?
Well, it's just you pace yourself and off you go kind of thing, right? Like you say, you look at the day ahead and you're like, all right, this is what I'm tackling. And, you always have to be forward thinking as well. So there's that constant flywheel of current. There's that constant flywheel of future, and you're always reaching back to history to kind of help you guide your way through. But I have a lot of respect for artists, musicians, people that are doing this for a living, talking to people constantly, right? Like I look at, some of the great news anchors of, history, and I think, wow, that must have been such an amazing experience to be the person sitting at the news desk when the Apollo 11 mission landed on the moon, right? Like that's crazy. But to be, a part of history like that, I think is fantastic and amazing. And speaking of history and legends, you might have noticed someone kind of jumped in here, and they're not Zoom bombing us. I hope Clarence can hear me right now. Clarence, if you want to key up yourself and introduce yourself, let everybody know what's going on, why you dropping in right now. What's up, man?
Absolutely. Just glad to be able to hang out with this crew right now. So guess I'm doing an intro. Clarence Clayton. I work at Red Hat. I'm a manager in our data privacy team, which is in our IT organization. And I'm also honored to serve as the chair of our BUILD community, which stands for Blacks United in Leadership and Diversity. So I'm busy. I do a lot.
You are busy. And, Blacks United in Leadership and Diversity is, all the D&I groups are, have a special place in my heart. But BUILD is one of those that does kind of hit close to home. For folks that don't know, I grew up kind of poor and largely predominant minority communities is where I spent my time when I was much younger. So I always found BUILD to be like a safe place to call home, if that makes sense, right? Given that, my background has been kind of more around, minority groups and not being in the majority or, kind of in that same vein. So thank you so much for leading that effort, Clarence. And I'm very glad that you're here to talk to us about, what we're doing with data privacy and all that fun stuff.
Sure.
So what do you think, what can our audience expect? Why are you giving these sessions in Summit, part two?
So because I pulled double duty, if you will, it's I got a lot to talk about.
Right.
And I'm looking forward to being able to just share with everybody the importance of data privacy and with everything that's going on now. And I know sometimes it can be a bit cumbersome or overwhelming with all the emails and we use cookies on the website to do this and that. But all of those things are a necessary part of operating in the digital age and operating responsibly. So we just want to sort of try to bring some balance to that and help people understand why those things are important. But even beyond that, I'm so thankful to work at a company that encourages and supports us giving back to the community, just giving light and life to these diversity and inclusion communities, and in sharing our talents with the world in terms of tech for good, and then just also how we show up in the industry. One of the panels that I'm moderating is hearing from some Black creatives in the marketing organization and just how they bring their perspective and influence the Red Hat brand and the marketing industry as a whole. So it's going to be really good to be able to share a lot of those different insights with people next week.
Yes, absolutely. I mean, there's study after study out there about how diverse teams just generally make better decisions, and we, Red Hat, put an emphasis on diversity for that reason, right? We don't want to be slurping up data unnecessarily, right? Like even with our insights product, right? If you look at insights for anything, right? OpenShift, RHEL, whatever it may be, you're looking at like a sliver of data to just give us some kind of, nugget to say, okay, this process is running on this box with these other processes. Is there any problem, conflicts with versions of kernels and software that are on board, right? Like we're very, very data concerned, I will say, right? Like that might be like a good way to phrase it, right? Like we take privacy seriously here at Red Hat. We don't just, it's not, what is it? Lip music or whatever we call it, right? Pardon the bad analogy, but lip service. We don't play lip service to it. We actually think about it. And even in making this show, right? Like we think about privacy for our guests.
Absolutely.
It comes down through the entire culture, right? It makes down to my desk that we need to be concerned about privacy. So
absolutely. One of the things that although I haven't been in the tower, in Red Hat Tower in quite some time, due to the way that we're all sort of working and living right now. But there was a sign that said open source, but not open doors.
Right.
And I mean, and that just talks about the balance, right? We are, an open culture that believes in, the openness and the importance of transparency and how we can utilize data, for insights and perspectives that, can make businesses better and allow them to make even better decisions. But we still, again, have to do that in a responsible and compliant way. And so they're just guardrails that we have to, make sure that we keep in place and follow, and that we do the same, for our customers as well.
Right. And, to put some context around the door marker, banner, whatever sign, it's just, don't let people like sneak in, behind you kind of thing, right? Like be cognizant of your surroundings and how that context matters. And, we are a very open company, but you're very right. Like I thought, like one of the most clever things I ever saw on my first visit to the tower before I was a Red Hat employee was that sign, because my background is, I was in the military for 11 years. So having people follow you without badging in, really bad, right? Yeah. So it was kind of, refreshing to see that there is a cognizant effort being made to make sure that we're not just letting anybody in the front door kind of thing. Right.
Absolutely.
And letting anyone, see the castle, the keys to the castle, let alone have them. It's vitally important, I think, in today's era to maintain privacy. Right. So looking here, what differentiates, in your mind, Clarence, Virtual Red Hat Summit from some of the other virtual tech conferences we've seen the past 14, 15 months here? Yeah. Especially part two, right?
Sure. I think that this is, not a knock against, any other conferences. I'm just really proud of the work that we do here. We get so many Red Hatters involved from every perspective. I mean, yes, you're going to have your Kubernetes experts and your OpenShift experts are going to be talking about all those great things there. But again, we're going to have privacy people from marketing, people from all over the company that are going to be talking about ways that, we all contribute to Red Hat's success and how we show up in the industry and how we show up in the world. So I think that's a differentiator. I also think our partnerships with our partners and our customers and industry leaders and how we bring them into a lot of our programming as well, certainly is a plus. And I think just the visual experience, right? Our brand, the vibrant ads and call outs that I've seen, like ones with Angela in them, and the pictures, the open, it's colorful, it's vibrant, it's attention grabbing. And so those people, those marketing professionals and the people who really influence and implement the way in which we show up in our visual experience, they set us apart as well. It's colorful, it's bright, it's lively, it makes you want to learn more.
And yeah, like opening your mind to learning, I think is one of the most important things any conference can do. Just spurring ideas, spurring change within your organization, right? Like it used to be that change was bad. We don't like change. Like change is now constant, right? Like most organizations are constantly evolving through this, especially during the pandemic, right? Like that was like an overnight evolution for some companies, right? That went from, everybody's in the office, we have a VPN that, supports like 100 users maybe, to now like, our entire company's now remote, and what do we do? In Red Hat, we handle that very well because, most of our staff was, I think at the, at the beginning of the pandemic, I think it was something like close to 50% were remote. Yeah. So we had the, the infrastructure in place. We just needed to amp it up a little bit. But for a lot of companies, it was like, what do we do? This is a completely different operating model for us.
Sure. And I think that set us apart. I feel like we were all having to figure out how to navigate this new world, but we really didn't miss much of a beat because so many people were already used to operating in this, remote world anyway. I will say, full disclosure, I was in the office like 5 days a week person, which probably makes me a little bit of a unicorn, but that was how I tended to work. Now, a year later, I'm like, man, I've been missing out all this time. And now I don't know that I can really see it any other way. So yeah, we'll see as this shift in returning. I'm like, I don't know that I'll be returning, to that, full time, but I don't think that anything about my productivity, my ability to be effective, or, continuing to just build the relationships and partnerships I need to build would suffer as a result of it in any way. So as long as I got a good internet connection, I'm good.
Right. And like it all comes down to that one internet connection, right? And, the folks in my neighborhood here in Michigan, right? Like a lot of us are working from home. But, we do have to put hands on vehicles at time on some of these assembly lines. So shout out to anybody that's working hard right now, keeping America going.
Absolutely.
Really appreciate your efforts. The thing about this evolution of change that we're going through right now is that we're going to go back to the office at some point, right? Like even me, a full-time remote employee, right? Like I'm going to get on an airplane again for the first time and go somewhere. And like that experience has changed, right?
Right.
You're going to wear a mask, you're going to social distance, you're going to have hand sanitizer on you. Not that you maybe didn't have some of those things before, but you probably weren't wearing a mask going through TSA, right? Right. They typically frown on that. Now it's almost a requirement. So, having to adjust to these changes is something that everybody at Red Hat had to do, but everybody around the world had to do it as well. What are you most excited about, Clarence, for part 2?
I'm excited about speaking and sharing. I'm excited about learning, from others and their insights. Certainly excited about Questlove as well. Certainly a big Roots fan. That's sort of a throwback to my like late teenage, like early college years, stuff like that. So it's going to be good. That song with Erykah Badu, "You Got Me," that's absolutely one of my favorite songs. Classics. Really haunting and just like, attention grabbing. So certainly looking forward to that. And then just being able to, again, demonstrate to the world and to everybody who's going to be attending just the different ways that we show up. One of the sessions I'm really excited about is the OpenShift Commons gathering, where we're going to be talking about a partnership that came together with the build community, with our social innovation program, and a nonprofit organization in North Carolina that is on the front lines fighting for social justice, and literally how we used OpenShift to make their data-driven platform even more efficient and responsive. So I mean, it's just like you can tie our work, to something so meaningful and powerful in the community and in the world. And that is, that's the beauty of what we do at Red Hat. And so it's wonderful to, have been a part of that coming together, and look forward to sharing that story with everybody.
That sounds fantastic. I'll ask the same to Emily and Angela. What are your can't miss sessions of part 2? I think, like Clarence example was fantastic and the impact that it has, but you can go beyond that potentially, right?
Oh, it's too difficult for me to choose. I'm really excited for the AI/ML Ask the Expert sessions, for exactly all the reasons that we spoke about before with OpenShift data science, and really kind of understanding how they're prioritizing which open source communities and why. Because just getting that insight into where Red Hat is making the investments into open source for AI/ML will really direct me to give our customers the right methodology, the right investments themselves. So for me, that's what I'm really excited about.
Awesome.
I'm definitely going to have to say, I'm going to parrot what Clarence said, because I'm looking forward to speaking with Questlove as a fellow Philadelphian. And that really hit home for me. Like, wow, I'm actually going to get to interview one of Philly's own. Another one is Dan Walsh will be doing Ask the Experts. Like, you cannot, you can't pass this up at all. He'll be doing it, of course, on Podman, Builder, Scopio, Cryo. And there's a couple of Ask the Expert sessions. Again, Ask the Experts. These are live sessions. You really should make sure that you're there. There's a couple on Ansible automation platform, because there have been so much changes and it has expanded so much. You definitely want to get in there and, get it. There's a specific one on content collection. There's a specific one on services, and there is an Ansible automation platform, like kind of giving you the lowdown, because it has changed and expanded. So we want to make sure that people understand all of the goodness that they're getting, not with just their on premises automation, but in the cloud, and as well as OpenShift as well. So for me, it's Ansible, and Questlove.
That's amazing. Like, where else could you say that?
Nowhere.
Nowhere. Exactly.
It's why you got to be here. It's a can't miss.
You can't miss it.
Yeah, like I am probably going to tune in live from whatever beach I'm sitting on at the time, just because. But, that's neither here nor there. Is there anything, wrapping up here in the last, few minutes, anything else you want to highlight or mention, right? Like, obviously, go, folks, if you haven't registered, I've been spamming the link to Summit in chat. Please go register and check out the schedule. Like, I dropped links to, all the Ansible sessions, all the Dan Walsh sessions, all the Questlove sessions. There's a lot to kind of uncover. But if you're thinking about building your schedule, right, like, think about the things in your stack or in your environment that you currently have, and just search for those things. And, even if it's something as simple as like InfoSec, right? Like just information security or privacy, like Clarence is talking about, right? Like, just type that into the search function. It will reveal many sessions potentially, and just work through your environment and think about the things you're going to be working on in the future. Kind of build out your schedule that way. And, take the time, maybe today, tomorrow, to sit down and actually build out that schedule.
Yeah.
So you can have a good experience diving into the platform come Monday on with Commons, and Tuesday, Wednesday with Summit.
I will say this. I really want to say this. You said something that really struck home. You want to build out your session in advance. Now, if you've ever done other conferences, I'm not going to say any names, where you can't easily know if you've double booked yourself. So you click on something and it's like, oh man, I don't know. And it's not easily allowing me to switch from one to another. If you find something else that's more helpful, I think they've done an amazing job with this platform. You don't have to bounce out to switch from one session to another. They really thought of all the things. So we've made building out your schedule so much easier. So you can toggle on and off. So definitely build it out, fill up your dance card, and get in those sessions that are definitely going to help you in your environment.
Yeah, and one thing I really like about Red Hat Summit too, and this is totally just a regular conference thing that is missed out on in the virtual world, which is all the swag. So we are doing scavenger hunts and different badge things where you can get swag. So being a conference nerd myself, I am very excited that we're all going to have that opportunity. So got to throw that out there as well.
Oh yeah. Good call. Yeah, and to be honest with you, right, like the pandemic has kind of changed my opinion about swag a little bit, right? Like I want value from swag. I don't want to just get it anymore, right? Like I'm wearing this t-shirt because I got it for something else, right? So like it's our swag is not garbage. I know that for sure, right? Like I got enough of it hanging in my closet to know it's good stuff. So excited about that for sure. So
yeah, I think I have a Yeti here from one of the summits.
Nice.
my Yeti koozie from Ansible Fest in Atlanta.
Oh, that's awesome.
Okay, well, it's not exactly like a cup or anything like that, but I am proud of this. This is
awesome.
This is a build sticker. And the other cool thing is that I know the people who made it. I mean, it's not just like, oh, we put in a order with some marketing agency. I literally know the people. These things are made and designed by Red Hatters.
Right.
We're such a talented group of people.
Exactly. And I have my you probably can't focus, but this is the Red Hat military veterans community. It's actually a Velcro patch.
Nice.
So
nice. I've never seen that.
Yeah,
nice.
like we have National Guards folks and Air National Guard folks that work at Red Hat, or spouses whose significant other are in the military, and it's kind of nice that we have a veterans community that we can kind of lean on to be like, hey, I'm going into this unique situation because of my past experience here at Red Hat. What resources are available to me, right? Like, and I know who put in the design for this patch, and who did the ordering for it and everything. So yeah, it's cool to be part of this awesome company that we're in.
It is awesome. I will say these communities that we have, be it the Build and the Veterans Program, also the Pride community. They kicked off Pride Month amazingly last week, and just to see how much support Red Hat gives its associates, wherever you are in your life or your journey, it was just eye-opening for me as an ally to see it and to be able to be a part of all of these different communities, just a fly on the wall. So Red Hat is an amazing place to work, and we're really lucky to be here. So, no cap, Red Hat is really a nice place to work.
Yeah. I 100% agree with that statement and could not possibly be more in agreement with something. I like to think I have the best job at Red Hat, but Angela, you probably do.
No,
you get to talk about stuff. Just that right there, right? Like
maybe the second best, but you definitely have the best job at Red Hat.
Well, thank you. Anybody else have anything? Right? Like I feel like we've had a great show here. Angela?
I have one thing, and I'm so glad you just mentioned it because I almost forgot to mention it. I am Red Hat's newest podcast host. We have a new podcast coming out in August called Compiler. Yes. And we are answering the tech questions, questions people have, people are submitting questions to us via social media. We're building up and hoping to drop a bunch of amazing episodes starting in August. So make sure you go to your podcast player of choice, go ahead and subscribe so you can get notified when they come out in August. But yes, I am, Yes, the second best job in Red Hat is being able to, co-host Summit with Emily and co-host Compiler with Brent Semino and the amazing team. Again, see you at Summit. You'll hear about more about Compiler there, and in August we'll be dropping.
That's awesome. And I just dropped the link to, Joshua L says, woot, woot, go Angela. I just dropped the link to Compiler for everybody. Please go subscribe. Go ahead.
There was an ad or something. I don't know if it was in the open forum. There was something. I mean, just the ad that y'all had for Compiler, I was like, wow. It just got me just from the visual advertisement that you all did for it. So I'm looking forward to seeing what you all do with that. I know it's going to be phenomenal because I know Brent and Kim Wong on that team, phenomenal people, and it's going to be top-notch work.
It's good, right?
I know it.
Well, if Casey's in the background of anything, it's awesome. So yeah, let alone Angela. I mean, come on now.
It's a great team. It's a great team. So thank you. And I hope you all listen.
Yes, please. Emily, you got any podcasts or anything crazy you're doing?
I don't think so. And I don't think I could show up Angela with, I'm not a podcast co-host, but maybe one day.
Hey,
but she's Emily. Like,
right?
She's Emily.
And Angela, don't worry. I wasn't going to let you forget. I literally have a sticky note saying, remind Angela to plug the
Thank you, because I don't have a sticky note. So thank you. I appreciate it.
Awesome. Well, thank you, everybody. Really appreciate you joining us today. Thank you, Clarence, for jumping in when you can. Really appreciate it.
My pleasure.
Anything last minute, Clarence, you got? Or I want to make sure everybody has.
Hope to see you all there next week. Don't miss it. Sign up. I like what Angela said. Fill up your dance card all day. Got stuff going on. That's it.
Exactly. All right, folks. Thank you all for tuning in. Up next on the channel, we have Dev Nation. They're having a tech talk today, so please tune into that. And then later this afternoon, we will have Dr. Holly Cummings coming on the channel at 1 p.m. Eastern, 1700 UTC, talking about how to love Kubernetes and not wreck the planet. So that should be an interesting talk. So please stay tuned. And again, thank you, Clarence, Emily, and Angela. Good luck next week. I'm cheering for you. I'm rooting for you. I know great things will happen, and we'll catch y'all next week for sure.
Thank you for having us.
Thank you all. Take care.